so in the last class we were talking about homophonic music, monophonic music, and I put the term polyphonic music up there. That's where we're going to start today. And we actually tried to do a little of that, singing that eternal favorite pop hit song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And it was interesting because you guys had trouble with it. It's like, I couldn't do that. Well, you couldn't do that. I can do that, but you can't. All right, so real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think everybody's here. But no, that's not true. All right, so let me do it real quick. Haley.
Here.
Where are you? Ah, there you go. Joshua's here. Amy's here. My God's here right in front of me. Evan, where's Evan? Evan's right here where he always is. Michael Davis is here. John's not here. I can see that. Rachel. Where's Rachel? Is here. Casey.
She's at a doctor's appointment.
Casey Gazings. What?
She's at a doctor's
Doctor's appointment? Okay. Today's the 29th. Is it not? I believe. Tamaya is here. Yes. Kaya? Who's Kaya Hanks? Kaya. Ah. God, I gotta get that right, man. Wait, Kaya. Wait, let me make. Long I. Kaya. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Cassidy. Right there, of course. Haven is right here, and Alicia's in the back. Jameson, right there. Tay is right in front of me. Zach Juan is in the corner where he always is. Jacqueline Seacrest. Where's that?
Right here.
Right here. Is it Amaya or Amaya? Is that right? Amaya Swaney? Amaya. Third class she's missed. John's not here. Yeah, Naya is right in front of me. Is that right, Naya? Okay. All right. So, here's what's happening. The church is growing. And it's growing in several different ways. We're talking about a time, and it's going to be hard for you to wrap your head around this, but this is really before countries. This is when Western Europe doesn't have a Germany, a France, a Spain, an Italy. It has Spaniards, it has Italians, it has Germans or Prussians, but there's not a country. There's not a president, there's not a prime minister. But what there is a pope. And what there are monarchies. So, if you just happen to be born in the right family, you just might be a prince. And that prince, you might be, your father would be the king, but he wouldn't be the king of Spain or the king of France. He would be a king of territories. So let's just use this area. You might be the king of Polkton. And that territory might go from here, let's say, to the west. It might go halfway to Wingate. Let's just put it that way. And it wouldn't be a fence. It would just be sort of known. It's like, well, you go so far, and then you're going to be in somebody else's kingdom. And it was sort of like a again, trying to dog you into North Carolina, a good old boys network. You know, I'm the king of this, and then you be the king of that, and everything will be good. And as long as people sort of were able to barter or trade, you didn't really have a lot of controversy about that because it's who you were born into. And it's one of the reasons our country was founded, because this nation was founded on the idea that it didn't matter who your parents were, It didn't matter what country you were from. When you came here to the new world, you had freedom because of who you were. And who you are is just a person. Just because you're who you are, you're free. You can worship how you want. You can meet who you want. You can live how you want. You can have a job how you want. All of these things. Now, as I say those very words, we know that that wasn't necessarily true. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "All men are created equal," and then went home to Monticello and bought some more slaves. I've never been able to wrap my head around that. Ever. Ever. I just don't understand it. And that's, you know, that's the 18th century we're talking here. Well, let's go 600, 700 years earlier than that. And humanity is pretty much on your own. You either are of the monarchy, you are born into a tremendous wealth, or you have nothing. When I hear on the media about, you know, this idea of the 1%ers and the extreme wealth in America, I have to laugh. Because in America, we have so much more. All of us in this room, do you realize that if we as a class were to go to 60% of the nations on this planet right now, you would be seen as extremely wealthy. Right now. Look at the clothes they wear. The women are wearing makeup. They have cell phones. Oh my God. Your cell phone has more computing power than some nations have in their whole economies. And yet, we worry. I don't have enough. Those people have they have everything. I have nothing. How many people drove to class today? Anybody walk? Nobody walk? So you didn't have to do that thing where you heard your great-grandfather say, "I used to have to walk 20 miles uphill in the snow in my bare feet. Every day." You ever hear that? Probably not. But they always pull that story out. Look, we're well off. All of us, we really are. The problem with America today is everybody wants more. I want what you got. I don't know what you got, but I want it. You too. I want both. I want all. Come on, come on, come on. Give it to me. Give me. Come on. So, 700 years ago, you didn't have nothing. If you weren't born, you know, if your dad wasn't the king, or, not good. Not good. So, how did you live? What was life like back then? Well, we've touched on it a little bit, because we've been talking about music the last couple of classes that is sacred music. And this is where chant comes in. This is God's music. And what are we doing? We are singing in church because we're trying to get closer to God. We're trying to get God's attention, to let God know that we're a good person so that we can go to heaven. And we're going to sing to you. And we're going to sing God's praises. Now, for those of you that don't have faith, and that's perfectly fine, this is boring, probably. And so I apologize for that, because sometimes people can be boring. I mean, we've all sat in classes. Yeah, I won't even ask you to raise your hands. You're sitting in a classroom and you're thinking, really? I got to study this? This is killing me here. I can't stay awake. I got to have like toothpicks underneath my eyes. I'm never going to make it through this class. 16 weeks of this? Are you serious? How many people have had a class like that? Of course, we all have. And do you ever notice how that's the very class you got to pass to get to like the 4 or 5 that you really want? Yeah. I'm not sure why they do that, but they do. And so jump the hurdle, go to class, just do it. Well, we're studying this music that we call chant because we're trying to get to the music that you really like. But have you noticed how similar the structure of the music is? The music has a melody. The music has rhythm. But what does the music not have yet? Harmony. And that's what the polyphony is. All right, so with the sacred music, what we haven't talked much about yet is this secular music, the music of love. But what is growing and what we're looking for now is this, polyphony. Multiple melodies and harmony. All right, so I have a great example of this. And my students tell me that it's pretty easy to follow. So let's go to it. All right, so your textbook make sure I line this up. And we're in units, we're in chapter 6 now, talking about this idea of the early music and getting into this idea of polyphony. Okay. Okay. Now, so here's what I want you to do. This is rather easy to follow because this is your first really good example of this idea of the soprano, alto, tenor, baritone. You're going to be listening to a piece of sacred music, the Ave Maria, written by Jacqueline Dupre. And you're going to see 3 different colored dots, as it were. And you'll be able to hear and follow how this music works together. All right? So I'm not going to say anything else. Let me just play it for you. Listen and follow along. All right, that's a tremendous example of how the music is starting to develop 800 years ago, 700 years ago. Now, let's examine it closer. Make it big. It's perfectly easy to see. Here's your four parts: baritone, tenor, alto, soprano. And when you listen to it, you can hear now harmony. The four vocals are not singing the same note. It's not everybody singing, happy birthday to you. No, you have You have four distinguishing different pitches. And that creates the harmony. Remember what our example of harmony was, or our definition. Melody, music is horizontal, moving from one pitch to the next. But here is the perfect example. You have vertical music. You have four tones or pitches being sung simultaneously. That is harmony. And it's also what we call polyphony, because look, as you see, this melody stays the same, these pitches stay, this comes up and stays, but the soprano moves up just a little bit, then goes up, and then goes up again, where now the tenor goes down, the baritone goes down, and the alto goes up. You have all this movement. Here the male voice is split. Tenor goes up, baritone goes down. And you'll hear this in music from then on. It happens all the time. But don't take my word for it. Let's do something that you might know. Or maybe not, but it's an incredible example. Three-part harmony, Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, Emmylou Harris. The same exact format and style as this.
Gymnastics championship.
Listen to this, see what you think. Starts out with a melody in a homophonic, chords and melody, and then develops into polyphony.
Watching the long faces riding this one down track, and the lost places from a dream that never brings them back. And the sad truth is nothing but a cold heart fact. I'm riding the blue train over the miles to cover a ghost in a hurry to fade. I'm taking it one way to nowhere, afraid you might be there to find me inside this blue train. Counting the burned bridges, trailers rusted wreck, as our bad rages scatter in dust we left, like a pearl necklace falling from around my neck. I'm riding the blue train over miles yet to cover, a ghost in a
Okay. How many of you could not pick out the three vocals singing towards the end of that song? Could not hear the three different vocals? Beautiful. And you need to understand that that vocal style, that construction of music, the way that song was put together, comes straight from this Roman Catholic sacred music of the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th centuries. It's put together the same way. And so while we listen to this music, you know, that I just played for you, you're thinking like, wow, this is slow, it's boring, whatever. But if you just try and get past your own personal approach, if you just open your mind, it's like, okay, just let the music come to you. Let it come into your heart. There's incredible beauty there. That song, Blue Train, is that's in my top 10 all-time favorite songs. If I need to go somewhere and get my head squared away, I put on Blue Train. It brings tears to my eyes. To hear those three women singing together in that close harmony, it just emotionally affects me in the most passionate way. If I was in the recording studio when they were making that, I would have been sobbing. I would have been. I would have. You know, I'm a very emotional man. My wife would tell you that. But that's the way I want to live. I want to feel. I want passion in my life. I sat and watched the movie last night with anybody here seen the film Why Him? It's a pretty off-the-wall film. But my wife and I are practically in hysterics for an hour and a half. It's a very, very funny movie. To us. You know, our sense of humor is a little bit crazy. And Anastasia came home last night, Dr. Smith, she goes like, we need to laugh tonight. I want to laugh. Put in Why Him? Let's laugh. And so we did. Hysterically. You know, and that was great. But when there's just times where I need a little something, it's like, you know, I get the blues, I'm feeling kind of a little down. I put on Blue Train. I mean, like right now, you know, I feel like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Because that's what music does to us. But what I want you to understand, and the reason I play that, is I want you to connect, to be able to connect how music is constructed in this idea of harmony. The idea of you have a high female voice, and a lower female voice, and a high male voice, and a lower male voice. That's the template that's used in constructing this music. Now, I just played you a song that had three female voices. Well, that's okay, because Dolly is an alto. So she was singing the low of the three voices. And Emmylou Harris is an incredible vocalist, and so she can sing anywhere. She could sing above Linda, she could sing under Linda. They can all work together. The three women are consummate professionals, so they can weave themselves in. You put your fingers together like this, and you close them, well, now all of a sudden, kind of hard to pull them apart. Well, musically, that's the way harmony is. You know, when we go back to that picture, we saw all the lines crossing and doing this. Yes? You saw that, but you also heard it. How many of you have ever heard the song Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen? Galileo, 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 oh. There it is right there. You see, you go, yeah, I love that song. Do you know that there's 82 different vocal tracks on that song? 82. Freddie was working it. And I'm so looking forward to the Freddie Mercury movie coming out this fall. I hope it's as good as, I'm hoping that it's good, because he deserves it. Incredible talent.